Well people, it's that time of year again. So for today's video, I'm going to explain in detail on how to build for Frostnite. I'm also going to show some different hero loadouts that you can use. But first I want to quickly explain what to expect in Frostnite. So for those who've never played Frostnite, or for those who've forgotten, there's a total of 20 waves. And this is for the power level 128 Frostnite. For the first 3 waves, you won't encounter any Mist Monsters or Elemental Husk. The first wave, they're going to be power level 136. For waves 2 and 3, they'll be power level 153. And if you look towards the far right, you can see the first wave is going to be about a minute and 45 seconds. Second wave is about a minute and 50 seconds. Third wave's about a minute and 55 seconds. You can also see how much time you have in between waves. So that's sort of how this spreadsheet works. You get your first full lobber wave by wave 4, so you'll want to have your lobber shield up before then. And this is our first kill wave, so you'll have to get like a certain amount of kills before the wave ends. Let's see, on wave 5 you get some flingers and takers, some flingers and smashers, as well as your first elemental husk. On this wave you'll get water enemies. On wave 6, smashers and propanes on wave 7, so you'll want to have your sound walls up before wave 7. On wave 8, you'll get your first mini boss, and you'll also get some takers. And this is another kill wave, so you'll have to get a certain amount of kills in order to complete the wave. On wave 9, you'll get a heavy taker wave, as well as some flinkers. And usually on taker waves, you just want to run around and avoid them, and let your traps kill all of the other husk. You can also use the Baron with movement speed perks to make it a little bit easier to run away from them. See, on wave 10, we get some takers, smashers, propanes, as well as some fire husk. And at this point, the husk will be power level 352. On wave 11, you get your second mini boss wave. This time you get 2 mini bosses, as well as propanes, lobbers, and fire husk. And this is another kill wave. Wave 12, you get heavy propane, as well as some flingers, smashers, and fire husk. Wave 13 is another taker wave with fire husk. Wave 14, you'll have a lot of smashers spawn in with fire husk. Wave 15 is another lobber wave with propanes, takers, smashers, and fire husk. And on wave 16, you got more propanes, takers, smashers, and nature husk. Wave 17 is another kill wave, and this time you're going to have 3 mini bosses spawn in with fire husk. Wave 18 is another lobber wave with some smashers. Wave 19 will have some takers and smashers, and both of those will have water enemies. And wave 20 also has water enemies, but it'll also have either 3 or 4 mini bosses, and I'll show you an easy way to take those mini bosses out. So yeah, that's a breakdown of all of the different waves. The main weapons I would recommend using are the pot shot, and you'll use this one to clear out Mist Monsters and mini bosses. We also use the Xenon bow to take out mobs of regular husk. I guess technically you could also use the Deatomizer 9000. Just keep in mind that there is a good chance you could run out of energy ammo. We also use the Plasmatic Discharger, really good when it comes to mini bosses, as well as Mist Monsters. And the other weapon we used was the Baron, with 3 movement speed perks. Basically, you just pull this out whenever you need to run around the map, whether to go farming or look for blue glow. And you can also use this during taker waves to help you get away from the takers. But that's pretty much all the weapons we used when we beat Frostnite last year. When it comes to the loadouts that we used last year, we had 3 constructors and 1 outlander. One of the constructors would use a power base constructor with the recycling team perk, and for the support team they had Dire, Base Kyle, Bomb Squad Kyle, Electro Pulse Penny, and Crossbones Barrett. And for this loadout we had the Banner and the Slow Field. The second constructor can use Base Kyle as his commander with the recycling team perk, and for his support team he can use a power base constructor, Mega Base Kyle, Pathfinder Jess, Dire, and Crossbones Barrett. And for their gadgets they have Slow Field and Supply Drop. Our third constructor used the Ice King with supercharged traps, and for their support team they had Mega Base Kyle, Electro Pulse Penny, Thunder Thora, and Heavy Base Kyle, and they used the Slow Field with the Banner. And like I said earlier, you're going to want to have at least one person playing as an outlander, and everybody should be farming throughout Frostnite, but you're going to want to have at least one person playing as an outlander, and their main job is just going to be farming mats and materials for the constructors. And there's a couple different variations of this farmer loadout. You could use Fossil Southie as your commander and put Archaeologist in your support team. You could also use Clip as your commander. But for this loadout, we have Archaeologist as our commander with the Blast from the Past team perk. For our support team, we have Fossil Southie, Dire, Clip, Triceratops Ramirez, and Crossbones Barrett. And for the gadgets, they have Teleporter and Hover Turrets. And the reason you want teleporter is because that's going to make it easier for you and your teammates to get in and out of the build without having to fight any husk. Obviously, there's a lot of different loadouts you can use, but if you're unsure as to what kind of loadout you can use, then you can use one of these 4 that we just showed. Now, before we load in and show the build, I also want to show an aerial view of the Frostnite map. All of the C's that you see are different possible cave locations. All of the chest symbols are where chests can potentially spawn. And speaking of chest spawn, the best place to get chests is in the bottom right of the map. There's an underground cave down there that has a lot of materials and resources. You can also see there's a potential bacon farm on the left side of the map. There's an Easter egg in the top right. And all of the blue squares that you see are places that can vary every time you load in. So in one instance, there may be a barn in one of those blue squares. In another instance, it may be a frozen lake. So those blue squares can vary, but everything else on this map is going to remain the same. And I'll leave a link to this image in the description if you want to go check it out. And I'll also leave a link to a video that gives more details on the best chest farming routes if you'd like to know more. Alright, so last thing we're going to do is I'm going to explain how to build in Frostnite. And we're currently using a Frostnite practice map. You can see the code on the screen. I'll also leave the code in the description if you'd like to practice it out for yourself before Frostnite is released. But yeah, big shout out to Mystic for making this Frostnite practice map for us. So yeah, let's go ahead and load in and I'll explain the build. Alright, so once you get here, all you have to do is just click on this button and that'll load you into the Frostnite map. The first thing you want to do is build 4 windowed walls all the way around the burner. Then you want to put metal floor pieces all around that. After that, we're going to put stairs of the outside of the windowed walls in each of the 4 directions. And once we do that, we can start putting low walls directly around the stairs. So we're going to put these in all 4 directions. And after this, we're going to start putting sandwiches down. So the way you do sandwiches is we do like a cone piece and then we have it facing out. And then we surround this with 4 full wall pieces. And we're going to do this 2 times in every direction. So again, just have that pointed out, surrounded by walls. We'll do the same thing over here. Have this pointed out, surrounded by 4 walls. Have this point out and surround this by 4 walls. So basically you just put these 2 little sandwiches in each corner. We're going to go ahead and do the other 2 corners. I'll just put one right here, have it facing out. And now let's go ahead and do the last corner. And again, one right here facing out, surrounded by 4 walls. So this is sort of what it looks like with the initial build. While you're building this first layer, you can have the people with your bases place their bases down in these corners until you get the second level built, so they can just place their base right here. But once we get all of this built, we can go ahead and move up to the second layer. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to put a half floor piece there, a full floor piece here, another half piece here, and another full piece here. And we just do this all the way around. And once you have this part built, you can go ahead and have your constructors place their bases on these pieces on the second level. Once you have the second level built. So after you do that, you go ahead and put these arch pieces above the burner like that. Now once you've finished with all of this, we're going to go ahead and start working on our trap tunnels. So basically you build 2 floor pieces out and then you surround that with floor pieces, and then we're going to put full wall pieces all around this. So let's go ahead and place that down. And once we have those wall pieces, we can go ahead and put our ceiling pieces above that. And we're going to do this in every location. So let's go ahead and move to the other side and do the same thing. We're going to build 2 floor pieces out, then a wall, Then surround this with floor pieces. Surround this with wall pieces. And we do leave an opening in the middle. And then we put our ceiling pieces in there to connect it all together. And yeah, we need to do this 2 more times for the other 2 directions. We build our walls. And then our ceiling pieces. And I'll explain which trap you should put where a little bit later. But let's go ahead and do this last direction. Surround this with floor pieces, then add your walls, and then add your ceilings. So yeah, this is sort of what it looks like after you build your trap tunnels. All right, so after you've built your trap tunnels in each direction, next thing you want to do is add another sandwich in between the sandwiches on each corner, and they're going to be facing the same direction as the other 2. So these 2 were facing this direction, and then we just add 2 walls here. And we're going to do that in each of the corners. Just add another sandwich. And again, make sure they face the same way as the other 2. So we'll add one here. Do the same thing in this corner. Make sure they go the same direction. And do the same thing in this corner. Well, actually, I don't think we need it in this corner, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. Just like that. Now, after we do that, we have to start working on our lobber shield. And again, the first lobber wave is going to be wave 4. So you kind of want to get started on your lobber shield before wave 4. And basically, we're going to go to the last piece in your trap tunnel and build this ramp right above it. You don't want to build it at the very end because it can sort of mess with the smashers. Instead, you want to put it on top of this piece right here. And basically, we're going to do like a 3x3. Let's go ahead and edit that. There we go. We're going to do a 3x3, and we're going to do this in each of the 4 directions. So we got 3 ramps going up, and then we're going to do 3 ramps going out. And up here, you can actually use like wood if you want, because I know metal's probably going to be hard at this point. You could also use brick for the ramp, which I'll go ahead and do in the other directions. So again, we're going to do the same thing over here. 3 ramps up, and then 3 floor pieces out. And again, the way I prefer to do it is have brick for the ramps and then wood for the floor pieces at the top. I'll try to do it in this example here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we switch to wood right here. And then we go 3 tiles out. And we'll connect it here in a little bit. Also, when it comes to the lobber wave, instead of building the lobber shield in each of the 4 directions, you may just want to put the lobber shield in the directions that they're spawning in. So if they spawn towards the north and the east, for example, then you'll want to have your lobber shield completed on the north and the east. So yeah, we sort of started our lobber shield. Now we just need to connect our lobber shield. So an easy way to do that is to just put these 3 floor pieces in each of the corners, and then we'll extend our ramp from these floor pieces. So I guess technically we don't really need the floor pieces over here since there's land. But yeah, after that, we just go ahead and connect our lobber shields together. So we'll go up like this, do the same thing over here, and then for this piece we just connect them like that. Same thing over here, then we connect them here, connect it here, and then we can go ahead and finish the rest of our floor pieces up here. And we're going to do this in all 4 directions. We're basically just going to add more ramp pieces, connect them, and finish our lobber shield. So this may actually take a while, but we're pretty much just doing the same exact thing we just did. And there should be supply drops that land on these pieces up here. If you want to make sure that you catch those supply drops up here, you can sort of extend this out a little bit. I would say you don't need to go no more than 3 tiles though. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish building the rest of this. This may take a while. And again, you want to try to have this lobber shield built before wave 4, or at least in the directions where the husks are spawning from on wave 4, because that's the lobber wave. And if you have this built, you shouldn't need any anti-air traps. So it's sort of why it's important to have this built before wave 4. And again, you should only need like 1 tile up here, but it may not catch all the supply drops, and it may not discourage all the lobbers and flingers from throwing their stuff. So just to be safe, you can extend these floor pieces out 3 tiles just to be safe. But yeah, we're pretty much done with the lobber shield now, and that's sort of how you have to build it. I guess another thing you could do is add another floor piece here in the middle and one right here, just so you have some protection over your burner. Forgot to mention that earlier. Alright, so last thing we need to do is I need to show you all which traps to place and where. So before we actually go in the tunnel, first thing I want to point out is that you're going to put sound walls on this wall and on this wall. And the perks that you want on those sound walls are all durability perks, no reload speed perks. And we do the same thing in every direction. Over here we'll put a sound wall on this wall and a sound wall trap on this one. And the reason we're putting sound walls on these walls is to make the sploders drop their propane tanks. Sound wall on this one, sound wall on this one. Same thing in this direction. Sound wall on this and sound wall on this. Now the first floor trap you're gonna put on the inside is a wooden floor spike on this floor piece. You'll put a double reload speed sound wall on this wall, on the very first wall you see when you enter. So it goes sound wall with all durability, no reload speeds, wooden floor spike, then another sound wall with 2 reload speeds on this piece. The next pieces, it doesn't really matter what floor pieces you put right here and here. You can put like 2 freeze traps on this side, or maybe like a freeze trap and a tar pit right here. Doesn't really matter what these 2 floor pieces are, but you're gonna want to put another wooden floor spike on this floor piece. So it goes wooden floor spike, freeze trap, tar pit, wooden floor spike. Or if you prefer, you can do wooden floor spike, 2 freeze traps, and another wooden floor spike. Sort of up to you. But right here, we're gonna put a tar pit trap. We're also gonna put floor launcher right here, 2 wall dynamos on these small wall pieces. We're gonna put broadsides right here next to the tar pit trap. We're gonna put some broadsides right here, and we're gonna put wall launchers on this piece and on this piece to push them back. Right here, we're gonna put wall darts on this piece, wall darts on this piece. We're gonna put more sound wall traps on this piece and on this one. And we'll also put wall darts on this piece and this piece. So, just to quickly summarize, we got sound walls here, sound wall here, sound wall here, sound wall here, and sound wall here. We have wall darts here, here, wall dart here, we also have a wall dart here and here. We have wall launchers on here, wall launchers on here, broadside on here, and wall dynamos on here and here. If you don't like using broadsides, you could just put wall dynamos here and here, because sometimes broadsides will force the smashers to clip through the wall. So that's something you want to keep in mind. A couple other things, you'll want to put wall darts on this side of the wall. So let me just show from the entrance. Again, we're going to have sound walls on this side, but on this side you want to put wall darts. And for ceiling traps, you can just put gas ceiling traps all throughout here if you want. Another thing you could do is put like ceiling gas trap here, and maybe like a ceiling electric field on these two pieces, and then another ceiling gas trap. But you should be fine just putting all gas traps on every ceiling piece in here. And we should go ahead and put a ceiling right there. You'll want to put another gas trap right there as well. And we should put that ceiling in each direction. So let's go ahead and do that before I forget. But yeah, we'll put a gas trap on this ceiling piece as well. Also, don't forget to put wall darts on every wall that's facing the burner on the interior here. You could also place healing pads on the stairs directly outside of the burner to increase their health. Oh, last thing I should mention is with the teleporter. So you can place the teleporter anywhere up here. Also, once you fully upgrade these pieces, you can go ahead and cover them if you want. But yeah, you can go ahead and place like the teleporter right here, for example, and then place the other teleporter on the outside, like away from the tunnels. Like you could place the other teleporter all the way out here. So that way, instead of having to run past 100 husks to get inside, you can just run into the teleporter and it'll automatically teleport you to the inside, and you can drop off all the mats for the constructors and whatever else they need. Maybe if they need coconuts or whatever, you can drop them off. Maybe just mark it as loot when you get there. I don't have a loot thing here, but yeah, just mark it as loot next to the teleporter. Then you jump back in the teleporter and keep farming more materials. But yeah, this is sort of what the finished build looks like. And the last thing I should mention, so on the waves where the mini bosses spawn, you want to have, like, let's say you want to have one person towards the northwest, another person towards the southeast, and maybe one towards the northwest. And you just want to keep an eye out for when the mini bosses spawn in. Try to shoot them as soon as you see them, so they'll charge towards you instead of towards your base. And once they start charging towards you, you just run to the edge of the map. And you can build out there. One way I'd like to do is just build out a little bit and then connect the piece over here. And then once they charge at me, I'll just like jump out of the way and they'll run off. And that's sort of how you get rid of the mini bosses. Then you just come back. And if you do it this way, you don't have to worry about mini bosses charging into your base and messing up your trap tunnels. So yeah, this is the Frostnite build we've used for the past few years, and it's worked every year. Assuming they make no changes this year, I would assume this build is going to work again this year. But yeah, that pretty much sums up the entire Frostnite build. I'll leave a link to some Frostnite gameplay in the description if you want to go check it out. Also, I do plan on helping people with Frostnite this year on Twitch, so be sure to follow if you need help with Frostnite. Or you could try using our Discord. I'll leave a link to our Discord in the description. But yeah, that's everything we're going to go over for this one. Before I go, I did want to give a huge shout out to everybody who's been using creator code A1. And just want to say thank you for your support. Anyways, I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.